got you all charged up with that beautiful knowing that we are that. We've got a special series starting today. These series come to me when, you know, my normal time, I talk to you about 4:30, 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. I wake up and I think, oh shoot, it's 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. But then I get a little tap on my shoulder, and it's not my dog, saying, I have an inspiration for you. How many of you have those special times? I know you do, I've asked you before. You have those special times when you get inspired, and you know you have an inspired thought, don't you? Because it kind of comes, you know that term, it came out of nowhere? I caught myself saying that the other day. I said, it came from nowhere, and then I was talking to my sister, and I said, wait a minute, it didn't come from nowhere. She said, what do you mean? I said, it came from God. It came from Source. It came from Holy Spirit. It came from whatever. She said, I get it. She gets it. It's good to have a sister or someone that reminds you all the time of who you are. Some of you have that in your life, don't you? You have people who remind you when you temporarily forget. What is that about human nature that we always want to forget who we are temporarily? Does it ever happen to any of you, or is it just me? Wait a minute, I say to myself. What would those people at the church say about you if they knew you had that thought in your head? They'd probably say, I might have had that same thought myself, right? Because we don't judge each other, do we? Anyway, this series, I love Eric Butterworth. Very briefly, the very first class I had at Unity Village in 2008 was with Tom Thorpe. And it was a time when the spiritual education and enrichment classes were just blooming and bulging at the seams. There were 36 people in my class. Every one of them wanted to be a Unity minister, including me. Everybody. Who wants to be a Unity minister? Everybody. And Tom Thorpe was our teacher. And the book that was the study for the class was Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth. And I had never heard of him. How many of you heard of him before, Eric Butterworth? How many of you had a chance to read some of his work? You never tire of it. I've been studying him all week, and I haven't tired of him yet. See, I get that wonderful advantage of immersing myself into whatever I'm going to speak with you about, and I can only give you this much of what I learned, because there's so much. Eric's main focus, particularly in this book, Discover the Power Within You, and we'll look at a number of his books over the next 5 weeks and see how those books still pertain to today's world, what we're experiencing today in challenging times. He was a Unity minister, but it was interrupted by World War II. He has started a small church in Detroit that was struggling for a period of time. He had a lot of the same experiences that a lot of us have had in our lives. Stop, start kinds of things, but he never gave up. But his wonderful, the whole crux of Discover the Power Within You is to teach what he felt Jesus taught. And he felt that Jesus' whole purpose for being on this planet was to teach us that the Christ resides within us. And that was what he felt. Jesus taught that the Christ consciousness, the Christ energy, source energy, lives within us. That's why we're here. It's the only reason we're here. We're not here just to be automatons walking around this earth trying to figure things out. Did you ever have a time in your life when you were that person? Just walking around trying to figure things out? Some of you did. I did. Some of you were lucky enough to be fortunate enough to be born into this knowing that you were that expression very early on. But some of, yes, you and I know Marty, and some of us weren't. So we've been working with that a long time. Anyway, his whole crux of what he had to say is, I am human in expression, but divine in creation. My potentiality is limitless. I I'm human by design, but I am divine in my potentiality. Would you like to share that, read that statement out loud? Because there is power in doing so. You can do it with me. I am human in expression, but divine in creation. My potentiality is limitless. And that's basically the crux of it. Discover the power within you is that Christ power, source energy, God within. He differentiated in some ways between God and Christ consciousness. It's not really worth going into. He went into it a lot, but basically it's the divinity within us. And if we woke up every single day and just simply said, today I'm an expression of the divine, period. Hello, world. And if we could remember that all day long, it's that simple. But humanness, human nature, is resistant. What you resist persists, too. Some of you know that old term. What you resist persists. Whatever you resist, you give more power to. So there are many in the world today, many things going on today, as they have for many, many centuries, who are resisting their divinities. And the more they resist their divinity, guess what happens? The more the ugliness shows up. And basically what Eric said, and he wasn't him originally, because he quoted Jesus a lot, is that evil is simply the absence of the appearance of good. Sickness is the absence of the appearance of health. There's a difference, isn't there, between saying evil is bad things happening, or evil is the appearance of the lack of goodness in the world. Sounds a little Pollyanna-ish, doesn't it? But I choose that. I choose that over looking at things in a very ugly way. Most of what I'm going to share with you today are the basics of Discover the Power Within You. Jesus said that those who believe on the works that I do, you too shall be able to do. He said this to his disciples. If you believe in the works that I do, you too can do that. If you only have what? Faith the size of what? The grain of a mustard seed. Have any of you ever seen a mustard seed? Did you ever see one of those mustard seed necklaces? They were kind of big back in the day. Anybody have one of those? No? Marty, you had one? That little tiny ball, and then it had a little mustard seed in it. It was so tiny. My parents must have gone to Israel when I was a young girl, and they brought us all back mustard seed necklaces, and they were a little magnifying ball. You could barely see this kind of thing. Of course, I didn't appreciate it at the time. Now I think if we just have, when we look at this, our beautiful church here, when we look at expanding and growing, we just have the faith, the grain of a mustard seed. There's no end to what we can do. Of course, he said the kingdom of God is within you, and the best way to find it is to what? Be still. Be still. Meditate. Be quiet. Spend that time in the morning or whenever it's a good time for you, and say that wonderful phrase. Christ is within me today. I can do anything. I can face anything. I can face that which seems insurmountable to me today. Each and every one of you have something that feels insurmountable to you. I know it does. It might be that great big mess in a closet. It might be your basement. It might be your attic. I'm not peering into things. Trust me. I've got a countertop in the large family room where I keep my office now at the house, and it's a great big L. And that L shape is just the vein of me. And I start on it. Anybody have something like that? It's just me. One area where you just... So the other morning when I was studying this and reading this, and I came across that wonderful phrase that said, nothing is insurmountable to me today because I have that Christ light within me. I started on that countertop. I got about halfway done, boy, I was on fire. And then I let something distract me. I had a phone call. You know how that happens. But I'm going to get back to it, trust me. Because my intent is there. As I said before, he said that Jesus' purpose on this earth was only to show us. That's why Unity calls Jesus the way shower. To show us the way. That Jesus was a man, depending on how you were raised. I was raised Southern Baptist. I think I told you that before. That Jesus was a man who expressed and understood his true divinity. And he went around having the nerve to tell people that they were also divine, that they had the divinity within them. Remember what he would say to the woman at the well or anyone that he healed, it's your belief that made you whole. It's your belief that healed you. I didn't do it. Your belief, our belief in ourselves. I remember when I was telling you about wonderful, different kind of racial, or Michael Beckwith. His number one thing was believe in yourself. Sounds exactly what Jesus would have said to us. Believe in your divinity, believe in yourself. Why is it that we have a tendency to move away from that? In the day-to-day muck and the mire, we know it, don't we? We know it. How would you know that? You know that there's divinity within you. You know it. 2 hands. And yet we hit these little day-to-day type frustrations, and we can collapse, can't we? We can, and then we do. We remember who we really are. To Jesus, and this is interesting, that God was not an object of worship. God was not an object of worship, but a presence dwelling within us. I thought about that God is a force surrounding us, and the principle by which we live, and the principle of God is basically a 4-letter word. Love. The principle of God is love. Love expressing. So many of our old songs, we worship the King, we worship. I might be getting a little controversial here, but does God really need us to worship it? Not really. If you want to worship anybody, worship yourself. I'm terrific. I'm capable. I can do anything. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about being selfish in a good way. You recall this, some of you who know Abraham well. By that meaning, focus on yourself. Don't spend your whole life helping others who aren't willing to help themselves. Focus on yourself. Focus on your own self-worth. It doesn't mean that we're not kind. It doesn't mean that we don't reach out to people. But number one is the Christ within me needs some good old-fashioned nurturing from time to time. Another important point is, and we heard this from Catherine Ponder and a number of people that we've been listening to over the last, I believe it was 11 weeks, so this is the 12th week I've been speaking on positive thinking, new thought thinkers. So we better be really getting it by now. Getting it, are we getting it?
Yep.
We're getting it. Is that God is always present and available at the point where you are right now. You don't have to get ready for it. You don't have to go do something here or something there or clean your house first. I actually have those thoughts. Once I get this done, then I'll focus, because I'm working on a book. Then I'll work on my book today, once I get this done. When that is really what brings me joy. What brings you, you know what brings you joy. Can I toot your horn for a moment? Graduating with a master's degree brings you joy. And it wasn't always easy, was it?
No.
You knew you would get there, because I know you well enough. I've spoken with you a few times. You knew you would get there, but there were those blips in the road.
Oh, yeah.
But that didn't deter you.
No.
So that's what I'm talking about.
More like his mother.
Like what? I didn't hear
More
that.
like his mother.
Yes, well, that's good. It's good. We moms are good. Moms are good. I'm a mom. My kids, you never know my kids were my kids, though, trust me. They're both pretty out there in their own way. Wherever they are. But this idea that at whatever point you are, and as I mentioned, Catherine Ponder said that, start right there where you are. You're never at a point where you have to go back and clean things up. Not really. Not in God's mind. You start right where you are and move forward. You don't have to regret. There are no regrets. We make the choices we make based on the awareness that we have at any given time. Some of us would not have perhaps married the person we married if we had known what we know about ourselves. Right? It had nothing to do with anyone else. We didn't know enough about ourselves. I probably made choices last week that I wouldn't make today. I know I made choices about 3 or 4 months ago that I wouldn't make today. Am I the only one? I told you that I had a health challenge a few weeks ago. I was not paying attention to what was leading up to my getting very dehydrated. And then I also feel like I might have picked up some kind of bacterial something or other. Guess what? The doctor on Friday. Everything perfect. I worked on it being perfect, trust me, up here and here, because I realized that I had dropped that ball on my self-love for a while. Has it ever happened to you? Drop that ball on your self-love, and guess what? You get a reflection, don't you? There's no way that you're not going to get a reflection. You're too tuned in. As Abraham Hicks says, tapped in, tuned in, tapped in. Right there, you're right there. You're going to get a reflection. And pay attention to the reflection. Take the reflection to heart and move on. I love the fact that we hear about God being love all the time. God is love, and God loves us. Why? Is God a thing, a person, and it? No, God is, in my mind, and like I said before, you don't have to believe me. If you want to think of God as a person, that's fine. Just an entity of love. An entity of love, a malleable but undefinable love. Because God is love, and we are that of God, then we must be love as well. And sometimes that's a challenge, isn't it? To switch gears when we have been so frustrated with a certain situation. We know we have challenges in our world today. We know we have so many people are having health challenges. There's fear abounds. You can hear it everywhere. You can hear it in everything, in the news, in the radio. You can hear it in your neighbors. You can hear it in, I heard it when I went to the doctor's office this week. I could hear it, I could feel it. I could feel it in the people sitting in the waiting room. Fear is the opposite of love. Fear is the vibration. One word, a fear-based word, can create a vibration of fear within your belly. Am I right? So change it to love. That I don't believe. I believe in love. I believe in love. I can see the appearance of all of this, but I believe in love. I have to admit to you, I have hardly watched, I bet no more than 5 minutes of television this week. I made that point. A lot of food shows, but really not that much. It's amazing how you can switch that off, and it's like there's this tendency to want to peek. You know what I'm talking about? What's going on? What's going on? And what's going on is in actuality in the third dimensional world. Yes, it is. But it doesn't have to permeate us and fill us with fear, because if we get filled with fear, or even get the remnants of fear, then we're not being that we can go out and be. How many people do you meet that want to talk about the fear factor going on? Many. Many, 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 many. It's up to you. So you always have that choice. Do you want to change the subject? Change the subject. I went to the farmer's market. There was, in Jefferson City, there was some of that going on. I changed the subject and bought a peach pie. And the woman and I, from that point on, had a whole different kind of conversation. Tell me about your pie instead of listening to all the other stuff. I did it consciously. I have said to you so many times, our work is to be the warriors of love and truth wherever we go. Even if it's the farmer's market or the grocery store or the gas station, whatever it might be. Start your day and say, my mind is alert and my body is vital and healthy. My body is vital and healthy. Health is a vibration. Healthfulness is a vibration. I don't allow things that are not healthy into my vibrational field. I'm speaking for all of us here. I don't allow anything that is not healthy and in my best interest into my vibrational field. My vibrational field is love. My vibrational field is excitement today. My vibrational field is joy today. I'm not going to leave any room for that which I don't want in my field. Everything is vibration. We have a vibration going on in this room right now. And you'll carry that with you when you leave here today. And how long you maintain that vibration is up to you. Love is a divine energy that begins in God and has no end. Love is a divine energy that begins in God and has no end. As darkness is an absence of light, the appearance of evil is an absence of light and an absence of the appearance of good. Do you believe those individuals who are consumed at this point in time with what appears to us to be destructive behavior have goodness within them? A goodness that they're just not aware of. A goodness that has not been shown to them. And I'm not trying to sound condescending or, this is a colorblind statement. I do. It's not easy. Because it's so easy, and I've been guilty of it. There is no guilt, but I've been guilty of saying, how could they? And I'm intending, you notice I didn't use the word try, I'm intending to look at it differently, and it makes a difference in how I feel. There's a light within each and every person. Do we believe that every person in this universe, in this world, on this planet, was born with the potential for good? Do you? Mhm. Can we fix it? I don't know. We can fix this though, right? And then by fixing that, we make changes not only in our own lives, but the lives of those around us. So, as I summarize, Gary Butterworth, and it's difficult to summarize in just a few minutes, but I am conscious of our time. God is love. Love is a vibration. God is love. Love is a vibration. It's a vibration that you can choose to express. And the upside of expressing a vibration of love despite appearances is that's what you get back. Get that back. Been experiencing that, and I made reference for the doctor this last Friday, and I had to have blood drawn and had such a nice relationship with the nurse. And I told her, I said, I don't like that. I said to her, I bet you're a 10. And she was, meaning she was the best of the best. Did I create that? I don't know. But it felt good, and it didn't hurt. So what I'm saying is all those little moments, we have the power to do that. Discover the power within you in every little moment. Be surprised. And we've talked here about magic moments. Magic moments. How are your magic moments coming? Pretty good? Magic moments. Those little moments where you go, aha, that was nice, that was quick, that was easy. That person turned around and I didn't think they would. Or what I thought was going to be so hard ended up not being so difficult. I shared that with my sister, and she said, oh, you mean a miracle? And I said, well, kind of. Kind of. I believe it's Eckhart Tolle, or one of those wonderful New Thought thinkers, describes a miracle as the natural order of things when we get out of the way. In other words, when we don't put our take on something, we allow it to be, and it comes out to be this beautiful outcome. We go, oh, a miracle! And we don't give ourselves any credit for it. Well, I think we are working in collusion with God, with Source, don't you? I believe that we are. You express love through your vibration, and the potential for healing, or to be healed, or to stay healthy, is innate in each and every one of us. And the only lack in life is the lack that we have in our thoughts. Sickness is a state of mind. I believe it was Catherine Renault, it was Emma Wilcox, the one that I spoke of a couple weeks ago, said, see illness as a temporary inconvenience, an interruption to your well-being. I like that, don't you? It's a temporary inconvenience, an interruption to your well-being. The divinity in you is the part of you that knows you will not contract that which is outside of yourself, or which is outside of your vibration. That's the divinity in you, the part that knows you will not contract anything if it's outside of your vibration. Vibration is like an invisible shield of love. Discover and rediscover the power within you. And so it is.